Good evening, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order. Thank you for those of the public that are joining us. If you have not already done so, please sign in the back. Mr. Hannah, can you attest that we have a quorum, sir?
We do have a quorum, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. For invocation, Mr. Douglas.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. I just thank you and praise you for all your blessings, Lord. I just pray that we start this new year off, Lord, just doing the will of you and help us to do what's in the best interest of this community. Help the elected leaders, help the staff, and help the public safety, Lord. And please be with us as we go through not just this week, but all the others with any sort of inclement weather, Lord. Just guide us, protect us, and keep us safe. All these things,
Amen. Thanks, sir.
That's it.
Dr. Proctor, would you lead the pledge, please, sir?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, sir. Council, you have an agenda before you, previously distributed. Yield the floor for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion the agenda be adopted as distributed.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Welcome to 2025, everyone. On our agenda, we have a public comment section. For the City of Jasper, the public comment guidelines, what I'd like to do is read the guidelines for us, and we'll move forward. The mayor will announce the public comment section of the agenda. This is not an unlimited public forum. The individual making comments must be physically present, state their name and their address. Comments are limited to City of Jasper matters. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, and the mayor has the right to extend that time. No personal attacks or unwarranted accusations. Mayor or presiding officer has the right to end the comment or comments due to violations of rules or length of the agenda. Individual commenting can only exercise their public comment section of the meeting once and once a meeting. No individual can allocate or transfer their time for comment to another person. No inappropriate language, signs, or images, and the public comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes. Madam City Clerk, did we have anyone sign up for public comment? Yes. All right, thank you. Council, next item on the agenda is your consent agenda. I yield the floor.
Make a motion consent agenda be approved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council. Moving on to new business, item number 1, consideration approval of committee appointments. Council, as you look through, you'll see the committees listed out. Development, Local Infrastructure, Dr. Proctor, Mr. Faust. Finance Administration, Mr. Looney, Ms. Snavy. Enterprise, Dr. Proctor, Mr. Looney. Parks and Properties, Mr. Hannah and Mr. Faust. Public Safety, Mr. Hannah and Ms. Snavy. Yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you. Next item, consideration approval of legal services agreement. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, and just for the public, this is our first meeting, as the mayor stated earlier, and as you can see on the agenda, there's quite a lot of items. However, we should be able to get through these relatively quickly, as most of them are organizational in nature. That being the first meeting of the year, we have quite a few things that are pretty well routine. However, we do vet them to make sure that they are right for your decision. The first one is the agreement for legal services with Mr. David Siphon with Hulsey Oliver Mahar LLP as the firm and the city attorney that represents us. Mr. Siphon and his team have been gracious enough to hold the rate as the same for 2024. So it is our recommendation very strongly that council would consider considering to renew this agreement.
Thank you, sir. Council, I'll give the floor for a motion.
Make a motion that the legal services agreement be approved.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stockton. Item number 3,
Actually,
consideration.
we did that one quickly. It didn't.
Now we have legal counsel. Item number 3, consideration approval of municipal court judge service agreement. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it is good because just in case myself or Kim or whomever else misspeaks, now we have Mr. Siphon to correct it. So going into the next item is the consideration approval of the municipal court judge service agreement. As you all are aware, each year we do a service agreement for our court services. It is a little different this year in so much as there's some state law that changed that does require a 2-year agreement. So as such, the agreement that is before you would be, the term would end December 31 of 2026. So there would be no need next year to present this to you, as the state law now says that if you're going to do this, unless you have something contrary in your charter, which we do not, we would consider for 2 years. So this is for Mr. Robert Sneed to continue his tenure as our municipal court judge.
Thank you, sir. This has been through legal and review. Council, I yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the municipal court judge service agreement with Robert Sneed.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Item number 4, consideration approval of municipal court solicitor service agreement. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Siphon may or may not be able to weigh in on the verbiage I used in terms of on the agenda solicitor, the agreements for prosecuting. I think it's interchangeable, but ultimately, Mr. Hudson has been the gentleman that we have continued to use as our prosecuting attorney, and I usually consider those the solicitor for the city. So the actual agreement itself is the municipal court prosecuting attorney service agreement with Mr. Hudson. This is for the 1-year term, as is customary that we do each year.
Thank you, sir. This has been through legal for review. Council, yield the floor for a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Item number 5, consideration approval of municipal court public defender service agreement. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir. And, the last one for our court services is the municipal public defender agreement. And once again, we did this through our court services and through the individuals that are currently serving those roles. So Ms. Courtney Stewart has stated that she would continue operating in the capacity of municipal court public defender if we so choose. So this is a 1-year term as well.
Thank you, sir. Council, this has been through legal review. I yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion, the agreement for public defender service be approved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Item number 6, consideration approval of franchise agreement between City of Jasper and ETC. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is one of the rare agenda items for tonight's otherwise operational. This is an agreement with ETC. The reason it's before you this evening with no prior discussion is it is pretty routine. The franchise agreements for these different utilities. The current one expires January 18th. So rather than have a special call, we did expedite legal to review the franchise agreement. It is in proper order. They were responsive to one change that they did make, I believe, on Friday, which is the 5% fee, which you all may recall we had adopted up to 5%. So they did amend the agreement as in your packet. So That has been reviewed by legal and it's in proper order. It's for a 7-year agreement.
Thank you, sir. Council, yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the franchise agreement between the City of Jasper and ETC.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Item number 7, consideration approval of ordinance number 2025-01 for establishing the 2025 municipal general election. Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir, thank you. And just to clarify, we have an existing agreement, multi-year agreement with Pickens County relative to running our elections. So that is something completely separate. That there's an agreement, I think, existing through 26 or 27, I forget. So there's no need to have any agreement that was executed a couple of years ago. I think it's a 5-year agreement. However, due to the fact that there is a scheduled municipal election, as the authority, the municipal authority, we do have to adopt an ordinance, even though we're not running the election, we have to adopt the ordinance, which essentially then posts or notifies the general public that there will be a 2025 general election for post 1 and 2, wherein the Pickens County Board of Elections will run and conduct the election. However, we will be putting an advertisement into our legal organ prior to February 1st, which is the statutory requirement. The ordinance merely outlines the fact that the post 1 and 2 are up for consideration of election as the term ends at the end of 2025. The new term would begin January of 2026. The scheduled election would be November 4th of this year from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The ordinance also calls out the requirements for any sort of early voting and the qualifying period, in which will be in the announcement for the notice prior to February 1, would be Monday, August 18th through Friday, August 22nd of this year, for qualifying 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. So this is merely the ordinance that sets all that information. You do have a copy in working with legal. This is the required ordinance that we have to do.
Thank you, sir. Council, this has been through legal review. This time I'll yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-01 for establishing the municipal general election for 2025.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Next item up, number 8, consideration approval tourism development services agreement with Pickens County Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Douglas?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And don't want to put Amberly on the spot, but she is here. And so I'm sure she wants to read the entire agreement verbatim. I think she's brought a copy along with her. However, she doesn't have to unless you require, but this is the annual agreement that we enter into with the Pickens County Chamber of Commerce. They are our tourism development authority that does collect our hotel motel fees, which does obviously hotel motel fees. As we went through the budget, there's a portion that goes to the Pickens County Chamber. There's a portion that then goes into the city that helps to fund the VDA activities in terms of the budget. So this is merely the agreement in which we consider each year. And so it's just up for your consideration. No changes from 2024. However, in speaking with the chamber, we have discussed that we would like to explore with the county and the chamber in terms of continuing the services to continue to make whole, but looking at if there's an opportunity to increase the percentage, but that has to go through a whole separate process that will then come back to you all. So this agreement in and of itself is just the requirement as this year.
Thank you, sir. Council, this has been through legal review. Yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the agreement with the Chamber of Commerce concerning tourism development services.
Thank you. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
last year we discussed the possibility, when we made this approval, of maybe considering some changes. We actually did engage in an audit of the chamber at that time, and I believe the county did as well. And the chamber passed without any kind of concerns. Since that period of time, Emily has also made the effort to meet with each of our council members individually to discuss potential opportunities. And we also formed a subcommittee that met with the Department of Community Affairs to consider what Mr. Douglas was mentioning, which would increase our percentage from 6% to 8%. Ultimately, that would require approval of the state legislature. And we had hoped to possibly have that done by this year, but we did have some distractions and a little transitional year. And so that did not occur, but I'd still like to consider making that a commitment at the appropriate time, which is not within the motion, of course. But ultimately, that will change our the percentages and how we divide those, but I think it would be worthwhile. We can also proceed if necessary without the county if they're not interested, but all that could be determined later time. So, thanks, sir.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. Thank you, ma'am and ma'am. Consideration and approval of department leaders agreements, Mr. Douglas.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And part of this, you may recall, is kind of a spillover from my first tenure, wherein it's just kind of customary in the practice for me to have employment agreements with the department leaders, most of whom are here this evening. They are the leaders of our respective departments. The development director, Mary Burgess, is in training, so she gets a pass. So it's not as if she's leisurely doing anything. I'm sure she's studying up for all the curriculum she's going to encounter the next few days. But nonetheless, what you all approved earlier in the consent agenda was kind of a restructuring of sorts. I do want to make sure that all of this has the most positive of overtones, in so much as the way that we've been functioning as an organization, I think is now going to be reflected in these job titles with Public Works Director, Water Wastewater Director, and Deputy City Manager. Those roles have continued to demonstrate their autonomy and decision-making and doing what's in the best interest of the organization and the community. So the employment agreements are for all of the department leaders. It essentially outlines, as you have before you, the expectations relative to their job duties. Even though there's an associated job description, the employment agreement just lays out that they are a leader in their respective field. And so in a professional capacity, if you were to go to any other jurisdiction, this is what you would have presented to you. So it's the Deputy City Manager, Ken Goldner, Finance Director, Lindsay Williams, City Clerk, Human Resource Director, Lori Waters, Development Director, Mary Elizabeth Burgess, Public Works Director, Josh Davis, Water Wastewater Director, Charles Jones, Fire Chief, John Shearer, Police Chief, Matt Dawkins. And it was my utmost sincerity that I would highly recommend that we enter these agreements with these individuals.
Thank you, sir. Council, you have the floor for a motion on the agreements.
Make a motion that we approve the department leaders' agreements, and I personally would like to thank them for the efforts this last year and this what's going to be happening this next year. Thank you all.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you. Consideration and approval of watershed monitoring agreement. Ms. Goldner, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy New Year to all of you. So this evening I have several items that I'll be presenting to you. The first of which is an agreement with Vanashangen Ruslan, or VHB. We have heard that name before, to do our long-term watershed monitoring in 2025. As a part of our watershed protection plan, we are required every year to do different types of sampling. This goes along with our NIPDES permit, or our National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit, that is tied to the wastewater plant in our discharge point, and now in Long Swamp Creek. There are different requirements for sampling every year. You may recall I came before you last year to present, and what we had to do in addition to our annual water monitoring was we had to do stream walks, and they did targeted watershed assessment. This year, we are required to not only do our water quality monitoring, but we also have to do biological monitoring, and that means that there will be fish community sampling, and there will be macroinvertebrate sampling, as well as habitat assessments done in Long Swamp Creek and our other watersheds as well. Turnipseed is our engineer that works on our watershed protection plan each year for us, handles the turning and submitting of everything to EPD. They coordinate this required sampling for us, and it is just a pass-through cost. VHB, who did our sampling last year, I believe they actually did our sampling the year prior to that as well, and has done an excellent job, provided us this quote for $26,907 to do this year's required monitoring for us. And so I would ask for approval to approve the scope of services for fiscal year 2025 from VHB for watershed monitoring in the amount of $26,907. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, you have before you the request for $26,907 for VHB watershed monitoring. I yield the floor.
Kim, for the public's sake,
Yes.
can you tell them where this money's coming from? That we're out of the water?
Yeah, so this comes out of enterprise fund. This is general operating. It is budgeted as a part of our annual monitoring, testing, those sorts of things that we have to do every year.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Yield the floor.
Make a motion, we approve the long-term watershed monitoring agreement.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council.
excellent, thank you very much.
Next item is consideration approval of the purchase of a dump truck.
Yes.
Ms. Goldberg.
So you may recall last year at our July council meeting where we did our 2024 budget amendments, there were perpetual capital project funds created within our enterprise fund and within our general fund departments. In reviewing the capital needs of the utility, we have determined that the original funding that was set aside or allocated for a specific project would probably be better allocated for two different projects or two different pieces of equipment. And so tonight I'm going to be presenting to you on two separate items for equipment that have the potential for other departments to use them as well. For the first item, the utility department had a capital project to replace one of our aging tandem dump trucks. This dump truck was used to haul dried sludge from the wastewater plant to the landfill, as well as used to take gravel, dirt, things like that to our construction sites. And it was used by both our department and Public Works as well. We had $120,000 allocated for that purchase. With the contract award in November to Inframark, though, the city is no longer responsible for hauling dried sludge to the landfill. And so while we still need to replace one of those dump trucks, we don't need a tandem any longer. And so we've scaled back our request, which is a good thing. This is a cost savings. Charles has been looking at dump trucks. He has found a 2024 Chevrolet 5500 dump truck at Day Chevrolet, so it is here local. It has been there for a while. The price has actually improved a little bit from when I submitted this. It is $84,000 and it is available now. Charles did reach out to Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge and to Hardy Chevrolet just to get our additional quotes if possible. Unfortunately, neither one of those dealerships has one in stock. And because it was going to take at least 6 months before they would be able to get one in, neither of them wanted to quote us a price because that price could be variable within that 6 months before they got it in to us. So we are requesting to approve the purchase of this Chevy 5500 dump truck from Day Chevrolet in the amount of $84,000.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Council, the prices fluctuated slightly in our favor from 85 to 84. This is at Day Chevrolet, a local dealership. I'll yield the floor for a motion for a not to exceed amount.
Make a motion, we approve the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet dump truck, cost not to be in excess of $84,000.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council?
Did we go through the savings site to look for this, or was this just?
So this one was on the lot, and has been there. Charles has actually had his eye on it for a while, and been kind of watching prices while he's also scoured basically the state of Georgia for something. One of the nice things about this is that a tandem dump truck, when we were still on that, there was no way we were going to be able to get one for $120,000. That was new. We were definitely going to be looking at a used version. This way we do get a new model, so new warranty, new, all of those good things. It is a local vendor here. I'm not sure if this model is just something that's hard to get or if it's just in high demand, if that's why they're not able to get them in, I'm not sure.
Do you need CDL to drive, or is this?
No.
No. So I'll be using it as my car.
Any further discussion?
I'll be driving the dump truck every day.
Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Item number 12, consideration of approval of purchase of Infinity Vac trailer. Ms. Golden.
Okay, so for our second capital purchase, we would like to use that cost savings from the tandem dump truck and purchase an Infinity Vac trailer. This equipment can be towed behind any of our crew service trucks, and it does have the ability to be used across multiple departments. There is actually a picture in your packet of what one would kind of look like. This is a very, very close representation. They do have to be built. A vac trailer has dual use, so not only is it a jetter, is it a cleaner to break down clogs and any kind of issues within a sewer main, it also has the suction capability. So instead of a great big vac truck that you may see rolling down the road, this is on a trailer, smaller capability, but this is exactly what we need, and it will help us to be able to get back into tighter areas. This would be primarily for the utility department, but there are some needs that Public Works could use this for. It can be used to clean, break up clogs in culverts and the storm drains, to suction things out. The nice part about this is that it could also be used in conjunction with the fire department when they have trench rescues too, because that has the ability to remove debris, water, sand, dirt, whatever is being used there too. So this could really be touched across multiple departments. This equipment would come from Consolidated Pipe and Supply. This is actually a sole source vendor for Infinity Vac trucks. Quoted price is just under $74,000, and so we would propose to use the remaining $36,000 from the dump truck and then reallocate $38,000 from another enterprise capital project that has seen some savings, and specifically that is the EQ pond out at the wastewater plant. We were going to have to do some rehab out there, cleaning out all of the sludge and the buildup and things. With our partnership with Infomark, we have seen just huge cost savings. They've been able to get in there and help us with getting that pond level down, with being able to start that removal process. We're gonna get in there and start removing some of the vegetation around the sides. And so that money that we had allocated from another project for that is not going to take anywhere near what we had allocated. And so we would like to redirect some of this money so that Charles can get this piece of equipment that will be extremely helpful. There is a 12 to 14 week lead time on building these trailers, and so there is no money that we have to pay up front. We simply need to issue a PO, and for that reason, I am asking for y'all's approval to purchase that Infinity vac trailer.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the Infinity vac trailer for the utility department and who else needs it.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council?
Just curious, do you know if this will save us from having to get contractors to handle this type of work? Will we see some
So
savings there?
it should, yes. Now, we want to keep our partnerships with our septic haulers, the folks that help us in larger things, but for sure, when we are working in a hole that is wet, we can simply back that out. If we have a line that has a clog in it, yes, we can jet it out and then pull through suction to pull all of that debris out of the line, hopefully without needing our excellent vendors, which we greatly appreciate. There's always going to be situations where we will still need their help. Yes.
Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council. Number 13, consideration and approval of resolution number 2025-01, and authorization for mayor to execute any and all necessary documents for USDA closing. Ms. Goldberg.
Okay, so we see the light at the end of the tunnel. USDA project is coming close to being completed. We are ready to close on our loans, issue the bonds for this project. The city has scheduled with USDA a pre-closing on January the 15th, and then we have our financial closing on January the 17th. In anticipation of those dates, we do need to approve this resolution, which sets the interest rates for each one of the projects. You will recall the original loan amount was $4,748,000. That comes at 1.375% interest. And then the additional amount that we had to secure once the bids came in 2022 is $10,879,000, and that is at 1.5%. Now they're broken up into two pieces because we could not go over, USDA could not go over $10 million with one instrument, and so we broke them up into two pieces. So I would ask for council's approval of resolution 2025-01, as well as to authorize the mayor to execute any and all necessary documents for the USDA closing on the 15th and 17th.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Council, request is for approval of the resolution and also for the execution of any and all documents. I yield the floor for a motion.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 2025-01 and authorize the mayor to execute necessary documents with the USDA.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, council?
And I'm presuming that all of these documents will be closely scrutinized by staff as well as by legal, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Golden. Item number 14, consideration and approval of the 2025 calendar. Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Part of what I think our tactic will be in 2025 is when you have capital, we're just going to throw the fire department in. I think Chief Dawkins knows that we're going to do some capital purchases. The fire department use it, and it's a positive then. So we're gonna do
Worked in the
that.
past.
That's right, Chief.
Yes.
Sure.
In all sincerity, I do want to say the meetings that we have with the collaboration with the leaders, it is getting them to think where the EOC and the fire chief, his representative, fire marshal was there, and he was talking with Josh and Charles obviously work closely in tandem day to day, but oftentimes you don't think about the fire services. And so I joke about it, but in all sincerity, he got excited because from his background in another jurisdiction, they had this and it was utilized. You don't want it to be utilized in that manner, but it was not something that Kim and I had really discussed with Charles or with Josh. But when it did happen, I said, that's a fantastic way of dealing with it because it just does demonstrate that if it is now available to us, all the parties in agreement will go and mobilize. So I had to throw that in there just to give a hard time. But this is the last item, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is the obligatory 2025 calendar. For full disclosure, I had spoken with a few of y'all in so much as the 2024 calendar does in fact closely resemble, or the 25 resembles 24. However, it is staff, i.e. Brandon and or Kim's, I'm gonna throw Kim in there too, that we remove the half a holiday preceding the Thanksgiving and Christmas. We do not necessarily know how it got reflected in the 24, but just as a general practice, we do think that the essentially statutory type holidays that we mirror the state are good enough. And I do think that there's some administrative liberties that we do have from time to time with proper notice, i.e. Just before the end of the calendar year and fiscal year, December 31, we close administrative offices to the public for us to close out the books. Now, most people didn't get out of here until around 4:30, but it was one of those that, from an administrative perspective, you all give the liberty of saying, look, there are times that with proper notice that you can have some delayed opening or some early closing. And we just feel like if we eliminate that half a day before Thanksgiving break and Christmas break, it just frees up some of that administrative discretion from city manager's office. So with that, all of the other holidays and looking at the meetings for council and the work sessions and the planning and zoning and the downtown development authority are reflected on your calendar. It does appear as though that the way that the calendar is going to fall this year, there will be, and this is staff's preference, and it just so happens to align that the fourth Thursday of our work session does give us a week or more in between for the first Monday, just the way it works. So that allows us to have the work session. If there's outstanding items, instead of us having a day and a weekend to get back to y'all, we do have a little buffer there. So it would be our request just for you all to consider and approve.
Thank you, sir. Council, yield the floor for a motion for the approval of the 2025 calendar.
Motion to approve the 2025 calendar.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you, council. This time on the agenda, we'll move into committee report updates. First, development of local infrastructure. Dr. Crocker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're in a moratorium, or second one, since I've been on council, I'm gonna try to keep it brief. We have 25 active projects going on this climate moratorium. We most recently had 2 completions with COs presented to Piedmont Oncology Center and Coca-Cola in their new building. The Piedmont Oncology Center was part of a combined effort on Piedmont Healthcare, where they expanded their ICU. They added a new service line, where this will be the only linear accelerator in our vicinity. And also they're in the process of building a office freestanding emergency room in LJ.
for a total of approximately $60 million commitment to our community. Publix is well under construction, 60%, and there are also 2 adjacent buildings attached to that are well underway. And we also had another CO on the Jonah Lane apartments that was given. And I hope this is exciting news for most of us. It is for me. Chick-fil-A actually has had their permit granted. So despite the fodder on Facebook and elsewhere, Chick-fil-A is coming to Pickettstown, specifically to the city of Jasper. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir. Next up, Finance and Admin, Mr. William Stanley.
Want to thank Finance Department for completion of the budget. Even more, want to thank them for starting to close out 2024. That is that will be a wonderful accomplishment, and I am sure that they will accomplish that as they have in prior years. So thank you all for that.
Anything else to add? Enterprise, Mr. Lynn.
Completion of the, we've already talked around it, but we are near the completion of the project on the water treatment plant. Looking forward to closing out those loans. Thank goodness for 1.35 and 1.5% money for those projects. That is a blessing that that'll be a blessing for the next 40 years. Wish we could borrow at that rate for many more projects.
We continue to work on our lead and copper rule revision, just for the benefit of the public. That was an unfunded mandate that came down directly related to the issues with the infrastructure in Michigan with lead contamination. The onus is on us to prove as best we can where we have lead and copper and other potential contaminants. And we continue to work on that and make progress. The transition to Infomark has shown to be a wise move thus far with some of the services that they've provided to us already, and also some of the availability of equipment that we will have access to, which help us save money on our tandem truck. We currently have 4 projects underway, GFA product projects. Several $1 million on top of the wastewater treatment plant. Those projects include our distribution of water and treatment, distribution rehab of those, and wastewater collection and lift station projects as well. We're in the process of EPD and our relationships that we've been building with them over the last several years. Since we self-reported our illegal water intake in early 2020, we've developed quite a good working relationship with them. And we're in the process of hopefully seeing increase in our withdrawal permit from our creek, which is a tremendous, going to be a tremendous asset. So I think that's it.
Thank you, sir. Parks and Properties, Mr. Hammond.
At Duck Pond, Josh was able to remove some of those rotten structures down by the pond, so glad to see those are removed. And then something that Councilman Faust will be very excited about is safety seemed to be the December topic there, where we were able to order lights, vests, and communication devices to ensure that we have that communication piece. So good to see those things were highlighted there in December.
Public Safety, Mr. Hammond Snavy.
Speaking of safety, just want to remind everyone again to move over for those first responders out there on the highway and roadways, ensure safety of our staff.
Thank you, sir. City Manager, any comments, sir?
Absolutely, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just for the general public as well, you'll notice that there's now, as the mayor alluded to, a public comment section on the agenda. There's also a city manager comment, city council comments, and mayor comments just to kind of add to anything that may not have been able to be addressed specifically in the agenda, or just general comments in order to kind of keep you abreast of things. Specifically, Mr. Lenny will appreciate the fact that we're in what we would consider our month 13th. You have close out December 31, but technically it's not until the end of January we close out month 13. So all the information in your packets, please review with the understanding that there's going to be changes associated with the way the revenue falls, expenditures falls. Everything is unaudited. So if you look at it and you have a question about, well, Brandon, you said that the revenue for this was going to be this, and it's reflected in my budget report. With the way that the system runs, there will be some true ups. Is that good, Lindsay?
Accurate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unaudited numbers.
Unaudited. So, and just to kind of keep you all abreast, I do want to see if Kim and or Josh want to talk a little bit about some of the inclement weather preparedness that we have done and that we are doing. And this is a microcosm of today, tomorrow, Friday.
Yes. So you may have noticed that we had crews out brining some of the roads preemptively, and that was because some of the streets were not drying up from the rain over last night, early this morning. We did have some worries that with the below freezing temperatures that we could be looking at some icy roads potentially in the morning. So Josh's guys were out hitting all of the streets, doing some sidewalks as well preemptively. Last weekend, I believe it was last Saturday night, we had a group of folks that were at the EOC with Pickens County with that strong weather system, the thunderstorms and everything that was coming in. We had our city manager, Brandon, there. We had representatives from police and fire. Josh was also there. He was on vacation that week, came in and went to the EOC. So big kudos to him for doing that sort of thing. We will be watching the weather that is reported for this coming weekend very, very closely. I know that is something that we will be talking about tomorrow when we are at the EOC. And speaking of that, we will be going to meet with Pickens County on a number of things tomorrow, disaster recovery efforts in general, but then also with our volunteer organizations that they have invited and some of our faith-based organizations that are here in the community that have also been invited to this meeting to kind of come together and see what kind of preparedness things we can do with this cold weather. So, more to come.
And also, Mr. Mayor and Council, just a couple more things. In all sincerity, Josh and the team did a phenomenal job with downtown. I think there has been a lot of positive reactions to how downtown looked during the holidays. So I do want to publicly, and Kim and I talked about this, just commend you and your team. And also just to let you know, they will be coming down. So if you're interested, they will be coming down at some point. There's been some busyness going on. And I know Josh didn't want to come to the podium, but Chief Sheriff, if you want to stand up for just a quick few moments and tell the mayor and council about some good stuff about Josh and or your team. I think you've had some good training going on. And that will be the end of my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is a pleasure to work with Josh, even though he didn't want to come up. Appreciate you, Josh. Thank you. One thing you may have seen on Facebook, we just did a post. One of our firefighters, firefighter EMT, John Jones, just got back from Florida recently. He went down there and attended tower rescue training. That's not something you would generally think about, but that rolls into our technical rescue disciplines. The fire service, we have many different avenues we go down, from EMS to fire suppression to technical rescue. And we do have a lot of cell phone towers or communication towers in our area, and this is one area we saw we were a little deficient on. And he took the initiative and went down to Florida and took this training and is bringing that information back to us. We'll also be having our rope technician 2 level training coming up in February, so if you see some people dangling from ropes off of water towers, don't be concerned.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. City Council, any comments on the agenda or any other items outstanding?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I hope I don't destroy the opportunity for an open mic in our first
I was fixing to say, can we just knock this off the next agenda?
to have input in our meeting. I'll try to make this as concise as possible. I'll give a little disclaimer. These are my opinions and of our accomplishments, but I wanted to do it under this forum because rather than some obscure post from an anonymous person on social media that may or may not even live in our city, these comments become a matter of record, and I appreciate the opportunity. Again, bear with me. I want to thank you personally, Mr. Mayor, and also each and every member of council. This has been a wonderful journey that we've been on, and we've accomplished great things, and I think we're on the edge of a realization of some of the things that we set our sights on so many years ago. So I thank you all. Also want to thank the citizens of Jasper, because that's why we're here, for our city and for those citizens, whether they be voters, property owners or not. That's why we're here. Some of the things that we've done, it's been 8 years since this is the end of my 8th year. We started with some pretty big dreams. I think if you look at the agenda tonight, some of those dreams have definitely been realized when some of the organizational things that we've done. We've completely reorganized our government. We changed our form of leadership from a combined mayor and city manager, which is illegal in the state of Georgia, to one where we have an elected mayor who listens to his council and a professionally trained, educated city manager. We revised our charter. We've revised our planning and zoning ordinances twice. We've consistently hired professional leaders in our chief positions and other leadership positions, and we've done that through attrition. There have been very few people that we asked to leave. What we did was we improved their retirement opportunities with our policies and procedures, and they were able to leave of their own free will without having to ask anybody to leave. There were maybe 1 or 2 exceptions to that, but I won't elaborate on those. For the most part, I feel like we've eliminated nepotism and cronyism in our city. And we separated our sources of revenue, which I think is something that we all need to understand. At one point in time, we talk about water a lot in Jasper. There was a time when our city was run mostly out of our enterprise funding, and what that resulted in was a tremendous neglect in our infrastructure. And of course, we're also paying attention to that. We've hired expert municipal counsel, not just local counsel, not being disparaging to them, but someone who knows municipal law, and that's all he practices. And we've also expanded our engineering capabilities where we have access to more than one engineer for our projects. We've engaged young people like Mayor Raffield and Councilman Hannah, something that was an objective of ours early on. And we have revitalized our downtown area, which included reorganizing our DDA. That downtown revitalization came from a public drive. A chamber committee called the Downtown Alliance Committee was formed, and we would have these chambers filled for that monthly meeting. And out of that, Kimley Horn did a study, and despite some of the negative publicity that has recently brought to us, that's where the ideas for the bathrooms and for Perot Park and for our entertainment season came from. And I can tell you, when I first ran for office, the #1 complaint from the businesses downtown was lack of bathrooms. We've built better partnerships with the DCA, the GMA, the Appalachian Regional Commission, the EPD and the EPA, and our neighboring counties, and we continue to work on those relationships as well as our own, with our own county. In August of 22, we did a strategic plan and set some goals. That included water. We have a master plan where we know a great deal about our infrastructure, both water and sewer. We are seeking other sources for water, and including from our neighbors and wells. And we hopefully soon will be able to legalize our storage capabilities in the return of our mines as approved. We've streamlined the maintenance of our assets, specifically with our partners in water and sewer. And then we've also partnered, as I've mentioned before, with the EPD, the EPA, and even on Capitol Hill, both at the state and federal level. We also made a commitment to parks, where we have new staff. We have a public works director. I think there's been some attention recently on how well the parks have cleaned up. We committed to Doris Wigington for our bike path. Lee Newton, we secured ownership of that property, which had been in some conflict over the years. And we also, of course, are very close to beginning construction of Perot Park, which is our gathering place on the north part of town. We developed an economic development partnership with our county, which paid tremendous amount of attention to existing businesses and the small businesses. Unfortunately, that has fallen by the wayside, but we have plans in place to soon have our own economic development drive contained with the city, with our community engagement manager, as that hire is brought on board and was budgeted for last month. The future is bright. I think we need to continue to work on our hard work that we've done and get it hardwired. We need to focus on our water and our infrastructure. We need to practice sound economic development. And again, even though we're accused of having unbounded growth, we've done 2 moratoriums, including the one we're under, and the one specifically we're under now is because we want to make sure we evaluate our resources appropriately before we allow people to develop here. And we need to manage growth with good, sound economic development stuff, as I've mentioned before. We also have some opportunities for urban renewal in our city, I think. And so I think we've done a tremendous job. For the most part, it's been this group of folks. Mr. Hannon, we welcomed you this time last year. I'd like to add Mayor Lawrence's name to that, and others as well. And of course, we couldn't have done any of this without our wonderful staff. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Any further council comments? Under mayor comments, what I will say is number one, thank you, Dr. Proctor. 2025 is going to be a good year. We as a city will continue to focus on quality of life for all those in our community, water, parks, infrastructure, public safety, and more. And one of the most important things is our employees. We will pay attention to that and focus extremely well on our employees. That is what makes us who we are as an organization. At this time, council, I have executive session listed for the heading of real estate. Entertain a motion to go into executive session under the heading of real estate. I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, council. 7:20, council, entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council. We are out of executive session. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we go on.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
None.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same? Thank you, council.